morning, everybody, and welcome to ESO Daily. I am your host, Mystic Raven. Okay, typically I do not record on weekends. Usually these are my days off from Elder Scrolls, and I play just to have fun and not have to worry about doing the show and whatever else I'm going to do. But I decided, okay, well, I'm going to be doing the daily, so I might as well at least have a topic, a discussion topic, because a lot of, I think, like, newer gamers don't really understand why I have the problem with the BIS terminology. So, okay. I'm picking up the dailies, by the way.
My Daedra.
2? 1 was yesterday. Okay. Alright. But a lot of people want to know why I have a problem with the terminology BIS. Okay, BIS is referred to in a linear progression MMO. Okay, what a linear progression MMO is very simple. Okay, so they have tier gear, meaning for every raid that would be equivalent to our trials, there's set gear for your class, right? You go in, you do the raid, and they have weekly lockouts, right? So every boss will drop one piece of gear. Now, raids usually consist of 20 to 40 players. Your higher end tier, like back in the day in like MC, Molten Core, had like 40 man raids. So what you did was group up with 39 other players, preferably guild. You never pug these type of fucking raids. Spend 6 hours on the average. Could take longer. 6 hours is a pretty good time, actually. And go through a shitload of trash mobs and beat each boss for one piece of gear to drop. Now, depending on the gear piece, you actually, it has to get distributed amongst 40 players. So if it's a tank piece, it's going to go to one of the two tanks. If it's a healer, it's going to go, typically we ran like 3 healers, typically. Safe margin was maybe 4, but 3 was pretty much the bet. But if it was a heal set, go between one of the 3 healers. If it was a DPS, if it was a magic user, it would go to a magic user. If it was set specific, it would determine whether or not it went to a mage, warlock, whatever, so on and so forth. But only one piece would drop. And it was up to the guild leaders or the raid leaders to decide who gets that said piece. Okay, so they had this thing called DKP, which is called dragging kill points. Right? So for every time you would enter it, your guild leaders would keep track of your DKP points that you could bid for said piece if it dropped against your fellow guildies. So it was not implemented in the game. It was just something that raid leaders did. And yes, I've played with DKP system. Because it was just a fair way to do it. The more you participated, the more you had a right to earn or bid on the said piece of gear. It was just a fair system, so it made sense. But once you completed a tier, you acquired a tier set, meaning you had every piece of that tier. You progressed to the next raid, right? So once you would go to the next raid level, you would acquire the new set that would make your first tier obsolete, because the stats in your second tier would increase your character stat sheet, and so on and so forth. So you would go and completely scale up, hence linear, forward. You're moving forward in a line to acquire sets in the best gear at the end of the line. Once you hit the end of the line or the last tier, that is why it was become the phrase best in slot. Why? Because you can't get any higher, not until they come out with new content. So that is why it was called or referenced best in slot. It's linear. It's a linear progression. Okay, and a lot of class-based, majority of class-based games have a linear progression, and old school games do. A lot of old school games, and that's where BIS derives from. Now, a game like Elder Scrolls here is what we hardcore MMOers refer to as an open-ended game. Why? Well, it's simple. Because we have no progression system. Meaning I can go into Hellraw Citadel, AA, Mall, Halls of Fabrication, and there's no increase to my stats. Meaning when I look at my gear set, if I was looking at a traditional linear progression, my stats, my 2, 3, 4 bonus, stat bonus would gradually increase, thus increasing my character sheet. So the stats that I acquire from my gear progresses in a linear fashion. Open-ended games like this have the same stats. So basically, like, look, 930, let's say 664 weapon critical. I think I might have Hunting's Rage in here, Night Mothers. Okay, when I go here, 688 weapon critical, right? It's comparable. It's not a huge leap. I get 129 spell damage over here, and in Alkosh, I'm getting 126. So I'm losing, actually, using Alkosh weapon damage by 3 points. But, you know, I mean, it's not a huge jump. And so you have to, you know, go throughout your sets to acquire your desired stats. Whatever you're missing in your sets is what you take for Mundus. So let's say I'm running a crit set, right, which I do have. So my crit set is applied my critical rating of 61.6. This gives me my weapon critical along with my passives for my class. So when I go down, I'm not going to take the thief, right? Because I'd have way too much crit. So I'm going to take a Mundus that correlates or basically gives me the set difference or the off difference of this Mundus. So for this, I would take the Shadow, right? Now, since I have the Shadow and I have 16%, I can go into my champion points, because the one thing I'm missing from my set and I'm also missing from my Mundus is penetration, because I don't even have that in my passive. So I have to acquire this into my piercing to acquire more penetrating values, especially with traits and everything. So that's why they give you all these different traits in this game, basically to make up what you need for your build. And that's why it's called a build, because you need specific stats to get the desired effect. And you can play with those numbers significantly, a lot. So that's why it's called open-ended, because you decide how your character stat sheet and how your build is designed, or what the outcome is. So it's not linear, because linear is determined, right? So a BIS system, which is a linear system or an end system, and that's why they call it end game, is why it's called. Now, to me, we have no end game, a true end game in this game. We have trials, which are challenging and are fun, and that's great. And we can acquire gear and get that, but we have no progression system in this game. And a lot of people frown on that. Actually, I love the fact that we don't, because even though farming can be a bitch, right? And I'm going to cue these. Even though farming can be a bitch, it's not as bad as linear. Linear, literally, if you ask any hardcore old MMOer who's played, I don't know, any old one, they would tell you it would take them, if not weeks, months. It took me months to get my entire full set, because there might be one fucking piece that I'm needing to friggin' drop and I'm not getting it. And it was frustrating, man. It was just so frigging frustrating. You know, you're trying to be the best player you can be, but you're dependent on your gear. And in this, we have in different curves that offset those between the Munduses and the champion points and what we select for gear sets. So, and sandbox MMOs is where you usually see an open-ended game system, right? When I first logged into Elder Scrolls Online, I was so freaking disappointed. I got it, right? It was on sale. It was a Christmas special, not this Christmas, but last Christmas. But so I've been playing about a year and a half now. And they had this Christmas sale special, you know, for the holidays or something. And I picked it up. I was like, okay, cool deal. I'm going to go ahead and get it. I'm sure they by now ironed out some of the major issues, which they did. I mean, it still has some, but they did iron out a lot of the beginning issues. When I initially logged into the game, to the character generating part of the game, I noticed it was class-based. I wanted to cry, to be honest with you. I wanted to just put my head between my legs because I didn't want to read anything on Elder Scrolls or anything. We knew it was in development. I knew it was in development years ago. I'd posted on multiple forums and sites, and because we were hyped up. I mean, Elder Scrolls, come on, man. Come on. But when I first logged in and I saw it was class-based, I really wanted to cry because Elder Scrolls was never about class-based, right? It was always sandbox. It was a sandbox RPG. And I was a little disappointed at first, but I decided to roll the Nightblade. And at the time, I was kind of curious. So for the first 10, 15 levels, I pretty much got my bearings. Okay, you know, all of these abilities start off with Magicka. Now I have an option between depending on my morph, which was kind of weird for me because I'm like, okay, so the weapons are based from stamina. That makes sense to me. The staffs are based Magicka. That makes sense to me. But the class-based abilities are all started Magicka? Oh, that's weird. And I was like, okay. But as I went through it and I saw the sets, I'm like, wait the fuck a minute. And I go into the passives. And all of a sudden I realize, oh shit. Oh shit. They kept the sandbox elements between your morphs, the desired morphs, along with your gear sets. Now, this was before I hit champion or vet level at the time. We have CP now, but it was vet. And I was like, oh my god. So they kind of kept true to the whole Elder Scrolls universe with you can do anything. So then I wanted to do research. Like, can I literally still play? I mean, hypothetically, mathematically speaking, I should still be able to play every role with every class, right? And I looked it up, and sure enough, there was multiple sites that, you know, said, yes, you know, Elder Scrolls, you can play, every class has differences, but ideally, you can play every role. And I'm like, okay, I'm in. And the more and more I got into it, the more and more I realized that it wasn't linear, right? There was no linear progression. So the desired effect that I wanted for my character development relied solely on my ability to determine what direction I wanted to take my character. And that's why I keep telling you guys, you have a golden egg here in MMOs. That's why Elder Scrolls isn't going anywhere anytime soon because of it. They've taken the best of both worlds and applied it. Now, is it perfect? No, not at all. They have issues, but they work so diligently that they're above their competition. That's what's crazy. And I'm telling you guys, I played World of Warcraft up until Wrath of the Lich King. I got sick of it after that. And I was like, fuck you, WoW. I'm out. EverQuest played for on and off for years. So I would, you know, start playing an expansion when it released, if it caught my eye. But EverQuest was expansion heavy. So every 6 months, EverQuest was coming out with like an expansion. It was like, oh my god. EQ2 was... I had more hopes for EQ2. I loved EQ2. I loved the graphics at the time. They're dated now. And I loved the lore that it brought, but the problem of it was it was money hungry. Like, they came out with a mini card game and other little stupid shit. The AA system, which is the alternate advancement, was pretty unique. I mean, it really it functioned well. The AA system in EQ2. So I really liked it, but to me, it was just like money hungry bullshit. And I was like, you know what? I'm so done. And I had Station Pass. And I don't know if you guys know what Station Pass is. So I played a lot of SOE games, and I was actually fortunate enough to do some testing for SOE on multiple projects, a couple different projects they had. And I also was an SOE Pass member, meaning I had an all-access pass. I could play all of their games for one fee a month versus, and I wish ZOS would do that on multiple platforms for this game, because then maybe I could, afford to maybe get my Xbox account as well, because at the moment we only have up to 6-month pay, and, there's no all-access pass, but it's only one game. But if they offer it for all platforms, cut a discount, they might actually make a lot more money. But whatever. So I got to play SWG. I played the Matrix Online when it was live. I also gave me access to EverQuest 2, PlanetSide. Loved PlanetSide. The original PlanetSide was awesome. PlanetSide 2 is kick-ass, but when SOE broke from Sony, they now became Daybreaker Games, and the company has gone through their core games are still going strong. The problem of it is the transition's been kind of hard for the company, and they downsized their staff members, and it's unfortunate because as many times as I wanted to like choke SOE, I always appreciated what they brought to the industry. It goes without saying. But, going back to the beginning, one of the first games was Ultima Online. I really wish this would queue. Ultima Online for me was my first MMO, and it was sandbox. And sandbox games are open-ended. You decide which direction your character goes. So I had a battle mage in UO, and basically it was a full-plated mage. He was so fucking badass. I also had a mage tamer or a mage bard. That was common. That was a common build back in the day. I also had those were my two biggest ones, or the ones I played the most. I also had a thief. I didn't really like the thief much. I mean, he was really, kind of cool and stuff, but wasn't a big thief person. And I also had what was that other one I had? It was healing and something else that I had going on, but it was pretty cool regardless. And then I also played Vanguard. Vanguard was a short-lived game. It had so much potential. I was there for closed beta. They actually said they were not extending any invitations for alpha during the time, which whatever, I didn't care, whatever. They were pretty much keeping everything internalized for the most part, but I got into the closed beta and open beta. It was server stress, man. It was stressful, man. I can't see your comment, but it was really bad on open beta for Vanguard. But Vanguard went in the direction opposite. Now Vanguard is a part of the EverQuest universe, right? So Norath. But the timeline, like ESO, is different for Vanguard. So, but it's still the same, lore, basically. And I loved it, though, because instead of going linear, they went open-ended. We really bid on this. A lot of the players did, because they wanted to do so many different things. They're like, "Oh, we're going to do this," and "Oh, we're going to do that." Oh, I still haven't taken this dude all through here. I might as well do that while I'm waiting for Q. But it was kind of crazy because we really bid on that. Like, made player crafters really. And in this game, I don't think you guys appreciate. Well, not a lot of people. I mean, I think some players do, but the players who really don't get what they've got, you guys don't appreciate player crafting in this game. Player crafting in this game is huge because every other fucking MMO besides Sandbox, player crafting is shit. I mean, in World of Warcraft and EverQuest and EverQuest 2, nobody wanted player crafting gear for shit. It was all about getting it just to get in a dungeon and getting rid of it as quick as you picked it up. That was it. But in this game, the devs really did an awesome job because the motifs... Okay, so they introduced motifs, or which is your styles, right? So it gives, an individual look to your character. You can mix and match different style pieces, right, to kind of get a really cool effects going on. So crafted gear now also plays an important role because you can match that up with drop gear, right, and still have very, very strong results, if not, all content availability with crafted sets. This is why I love this game.
Please.
Okay, it takes me back to the Sandbox. They kept open-ended, wrong direction. They kept the open-end elements in what we know as a Sandbox MMO. Now, from my perspective, this isn't what you would call a linear game. It is more open-ended. But it's still class-based. Like I said, they've kind of hybrid the MMO industry with this game. That's what they did. They didn't give any predetermined expectation to say, okay, we're going to have a linear progression and we're going to have trials instead of raids. And for every trial, you're going to progress in your gear, right? Because they're going to have similar stats. Similar attributes. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. Similar attributes, but they're going to scale up because that's what linear progression does. That's what BIS system is. A BIS system is linear progression that you finalize your biggest piece. A lot of people now would argue, like Maelstrom and BetDSA is maybe a BIS, but when I've gone in public tests and when I've done multiple things and number crunch, depending on rotation becomes the issue. It's not about the stat because, for example, a Maelstrom weapon will yield the most weapon or spell damage per single unit. So it's the only piece that has its own individual stat. So it depending on your build, it actually is a great stat booster. Right? And it really complements the rotation. But on certain builds, not all, it actually doesn't yield as much as you had hoped based on trait values, munduses, and so on and so forth. So it's kind of like, once again, it goes back to your build, and what you're doing for rotation. And I'm always telling players, I'm like, I love this game. I love it. It has so much going for it that I honestly, I can see probably one of these games. Like EverQuest has been going, and there's still players playing it, even with outdated graphics. That game's 20 years old. And this game's what, 3, maybe 3.5 now? And I actually still see this game going strong for another at least 4 or 5 years. It takes 5 years. On the average MMO development, it's a 5-year process for development. And the reason, and I'll give you guys some info, the only reason I know this, besides being a tester for companies and playing MMOs for so long, at one time I was going to create an MMO company. At one time. And I had things going on with different companies that I was working with to make this happen. But unfortunately, where I reside, which is in Ohio, because I had my prospectus done on the company, and I was registered with the government and all that other stuff, my company's whatever, and unfortunately, local investors didn't want a 5-year wait for their return. and they didn't really understand it. I actually had one investor ask me, why do you need servers? I'm like, are you really friggin' kidding me right now? Like, I don't even have a degree in the related field of which I'm talking about, and I can tell you why you need servers. But whatever. But I actually then got offered an alternative solution, and I won't get into any of those personal details. But I actually turned it down, and I was like, you know what? It's just I'm not gonna come out with the game. It's just not gonna happen. I understand the industry really good, but at the same time, I'm not willing to, answer to some rich bitch. That's my point. Some people who they just exploit, other people. And I was definitely not down for that. For it. The game I was going to come out with was pretty unique. But, whatever. And I just decided, whatever. To me, it wasn't about money. It was about trying to promote the industry within my area, and also to basically take college, which at the time I was looking at one specific college for internship for a work program for the students studying in the related field. And this would give them hands-on experience besides school and potential future job opportunities. So, but whatever, didn't work out, and to be honest with you, my background is more business related. So other than that, I was like, I'm good. I do not need to deal with this crap. Just didn't need to deal with it. But yeah, guys, so that's just a little bit of personal background. Whatever. But I didn't do it. It just didn't come to fruition. It's not like I wasted people's money too, so that was the best aspect. Because there's been companies who's developed MMOs and they shut them down. One of my favorite games that I actually was an alpha tester for. I knew one of the developers who left another company. He had gotten a hold of me. He's like, "Hey, Mystic, we're working on something. We want you involved." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, all right, straight. Cool, man. What is it?" And it was Stargate Worlds. And I was like, "No way, shut the fuck up, dude." He's like, "Nah, man, we know what you've done in the past and stuff. We want you involved in this on the alpha." I was like, dude, right? Cool deal. And alpha testing is not as glamorous as it sounds. I've alpha tested a couple of games because you almost have like an itinerary, right? This is what they're working on. This is what they want you to check out. It's like a job. You go in, you play with it, and you'll have like like almost another screen where you're actually seeing, how the code comes in, and if there's an error, you kind of relate that in a submission ticket format so they know, okay, this part's bugged. They know where to find it. It's not like a needle in the needle stack, trying to find a needle in the needle stack. It's basically giving them specific, indication where this bug is occurring, and that helps them clean it up as they're developing it. So, but it was cool because it was just so different and unique, and really, really cool. Unfortunately, it was during the recession. Economically, things got kind of nuts, and well, it was history. So, sucked. It really sucked. But that was one of those really cool things that I got to play with. It was so kick-ass. And I got to do a lot of those things, man. So I've seen so many different aspects of the industry and how it's developed throughout the years. And MMOs, I'm always drawn to MMOs more. Growing up, I was an RPG. I was a nerd. I played Dungeons and Dragons. Yes, I did that. And the books, not the actual video games. I did play the video games. Some were better than others. Baldur's Gate was pretty cool. Baldur's Gate was classic. But for me personally, I was always drawn to an RPG, the fantasy elements. And like I said, I fell in love with Morrowind. Morrowind by far was probably one of my first favorite RPGs. and it grabbed me. It really did. But Sita did such a kick-ass job. For some reason, I think there's a sky shard here, but I'm not looking it up at the moment. There's usually one by outside on the stair thing, I want to say. Maybe, maybe not. Oh, well. Anyways, but yeah, it was pretty kick-ass. And everybody's like, you know, do you think you're all that or something? I'm like, no, not really, you know. I'm an asshole. You know, I don't have a... My major problem of it is I don't have a sensor. You know? I'm an easy person to get along with. I just don't have a sensor. You know? I just don't. And thank God YouTube doesn't require me to have one or I'd be fucked. So, it's just, wow. But, yeah. So, linear progression, guys. Linear. Linear means progressing from one aspect of the game to the next. And trust me, guys, be grateful you don't have it. I know a lot of people whine and QQ and be like, oh, we should have a linear progression. It sucks. Oh my god, this so blows. So it's over here. I knew it was somewhere near here. Oh my god, we need a linear progression. We need a linear progression. And I'm like, no, we don't. No, we do not. It takes player crafting, flushes it down a toilet. To be honest with you. You'll use a player crafted set, then you'll discard it. You'll be like, oh, fuck it. I don't need this thing anymore. This is shit compared... Because the stats are so dramatically different. And you're like, oh, well, that's shit. And then all of a sudden, you're on a grind. You go from one set to another set to another set. And you're just trashing shit along the way. And all your work revolves down to the next expansion. So all of a sudden, you'll get all fucking legendary gear... Right? I love this. When all your shit's... Imagine gold, having everything gold. And you don't have to craft it gold. You don't improve it gold. It's there. It's gold, period. Like gold necklaces in hard mode vets. Or in vet trials. In hard mode, you get another one. But imagine you get all gold and you're getting ready for Halls of Fabrication. You just did them all. And now you got every set ready and you're ready for Halls of Fabrication. Because without that set, you can't do it. You can't step foot in there until you have those set pieces. That's linear. Those are BIS systems. And all of a sudden you go in and you get all your shit, right? And an expansion drops. And then guess what happens to all your gold gear? It's replaced by greens. By fucking green gear. It sucks. It really sucks. And I did that for years. For years. I just bit the carrot. And this game has its carrots, if anybody knows the terminology in which I'm speaking. I'm sure most of the old MMOers would. But I had definitely was chasing the carrots. The carrots chasing was abundant. So, but after a while, man, I wanted to walk away from the elite attitude. I got into, I already played DC, which I thought was a little bit, it was like, it's good. I'm like, the story's good and all of this is good. I'm like, it's just so not hardcore enough, right? But I started liking that more. The more I played it. It was so casual. It was like, I can get all my raids. It still had weekly lockouts on raids. But I could get it all done within the week or in a day. Didn't have to spend hours doing it. Rift was still kind of hardcore, but reduced my raid times significantly. Cut them in half, actually. Still had a BIS system, which was like, you know, chase. But I really liked it. I love DCUO for that. And because of that, when I had researched Elder Scrolls and I got a little bit more, I'm like, how hardcore is this? Because... I don't know, man. And at the time, trials were down. Because you could do trials, but none of the gear was worth a shit. Because Vet 16 was cap, and all the shit that was dropping in trials was Vet 13. So there was the 3-level difference, and it didn't scale. And all of a sudden, you're like, well, fuck, I'm not going in there and doing it. Well, and I take that back. My guild did do it because we were trying to form a trial guild. And up until they updated and those trials, which I'm glad they did. Once again, they did it. ZOS did it. When when they updated it, we were kick ass. We were like, yes, yes, we're gonna go do these trials because we wanted, you know, we didn't care really about the titles. We wanted the colors. Juliana's white was one of those colors we wanted, right? You had to have it. We're like, we have to have this color. It's gotta happen. We did Molag Ball for the fucking color. You know, that's what we were doing it for. We didn't give a fuck about titles. And all of a sudden, right as Maul dropped, and we were starting to learn the mechanics to Maul, the guild I started off in here with took a fall. But then I just realized you can do a lot of pug. You can pick up stuff as long as people know mechanics and people teach you, use your voice communications. It's a lot easier. The devs make it challenging, but not overbearing. Then they set different level parameters, which is really cool. I really like what Zos did. They brought, and since One Tamriel, they've given this game has changed so much for the better, right? Because now every level can play with each other. Right? It's not like I can look at a 160 and be like, man, you can't even step foot in this dungeon because all of this is like CP 300. No, it's all capped at 160. You know, and even low levels in the world, in the open world, they're able to just so kick-ass shit, man. Oh, wrong button. But yeah, so the more and more the devs get to play with it, and the more and more they kind of bring it, you know, in perspective to other casual players, and giving it more accessibility to all types of players, the more I love it. Because, and some people might not like that. I do. Because yes, I was hardcore, and yes, I still can be, but I really want to enjoy a game that has multiple player application. That's what it means to be an MMOer. And that's why I always lean towards MMOs, because it has where you get to meet new people. You get to interact. You might not always get along, and that's life. And that's another thing, you know. You might not always get along with somebody, but you're always learning. You're always meeting interesting people. One of my friends that I gamed with for a couple years, he was a doctor. I never knew he was a doctor. He was always on late night and, you know, get 2 or 3 hours in, could never whatever, here to find out he was a doctor. I was like, okay. So you get all of these types of people, all of these different types of people in the world who play MMOs, and I think it's really cool. And it's so good. And once again, the developers just do such an awesome job. The environmentalist, the world design leads are good. I think the one thing I'd like to see is not just some of the developers. Maybe I don't know if they have some of the engineers. There's a difference between the engineers and usually developers. Developers, you'll use the tools, but I would really like to see when they do ESO Live, maybe bring in one of the, you know, the engineers on if they have them, you know. So, but I think they lease their engine, so I don't know. I don't know how ZeniMax does it, but that would be kind of cool from a nerd's perspective. You know, like, oh my God, you know, how are you developing these tools and stuff? I get more into that than just into like the, you know, how the game's designed, what, you know, tools and stuff. I'm the type of person like, you know, oh, okay, you know, what are you using? How long is it taking you to develop these tools? What new additives are you adding to the tools? I think I look at it more from a dev standpoint. Like, you know, how's the pixels in this, and how's that, and what's the rendering look like? And I'm a nerd. Oh. But, yeah, guys, so, once again, man, I don't know why I'm not getting a queue. I have no idea. I'm really hoping to get one. But like I said, I don't typically, you know, get on here on the weekends. It's pretty much my time to do my thing. What was that? Is that a lag spike? And everybody's always going to say, oh, there's bugs and there's this, man. Tell me an MMO there isn't. Can anybody tell me an MMO where it's fucking bug free? Can anybody tell me that? If you guys have one, let me the fuck know. And I think that's probably another reason why I always like to be tester too, because I don't mind bugs so much or lag or whatever. And because the way I'm looking at it, I'm one of the people helping to create the universe for the, you know, I'm helping the devs. I'm another tool for the devs, is the way I look at it. When I'm do it. I don't do it as hardcore anymore as I used to. But it was definitely, to me, always a fun experience when I was younger. Alright, let me try to requeue this. I don't know what the flip is going on. When I first started this, they didn't even have the queue system up, man. Well, I am on a DPS. That's probably another reason, too. DPS just... queue times suck. But, when I actually started this, the queue system wasn't here. We had broke queue system. We had bad... I mean, there's times that I wanted to just walk away from the fucking game. But the more, like I said, guys, this is a game... You have a golden egg. You have a fucking golden egg here. Enjoy it. Appreciate it. Because I'll tell you guys something. First off, let's say it again. Elder Scrolls. It's Elder frigging Scrolls. I mean, that the universe within itself has a meaning to it. But, yeah, I enjoy it. What? What happened? My block cancel? I was about to go nuts. But yeah, sometimes I get a little whatever. But yeah, guys, I don't know. I just wanted to get on here. I was hoping to do some dailies, man. I might have to get on my healer and shit. Just to get some shit done. I'm trying to get as much keys as possible for Horns of the Reach, which is going to be badass. I actually got to see a couple of things. I got to test a couple of things. I'm really looking forward to it, man. I'm really looking forward to it. The devs are really, you know, picking it up, and I'm appreciative of it. So I know a lot of people might not be. They might be all confused and clusterfucked and whatever else. But, you know, if at my pace, I definitely enjoy it. And once again, guys, I'm just going to exit out of here and I'll let you guys go. Embrace the possibilities, man. I really do. That's my mantra for this, for my channel. Embrace the possibilities. You know, if anything, the devs giving you guys a golden egg. They've given you multiple ways. And when you take a look at a set, well, this is what I want you guys to do. When you take a look at a set, don't be so quick to dismiss it until you try it. You might like I said, you might stumble across something that nobody even took into consideration. Nothing, and that's what makes this game fun, guys. It's not about cookie cutting. And I'm a big anti-cookie cutter. I hate cookies. Fucking cookies. Especially in a game like this. Especially when the devs give you so many tools. They're giving accessibility. They're dropping Easter eggs in your front door. You don't have to go hunt them. They're laying them out for you. And it's like, holy crap, you know. I mean, seriously, there's builds that I've came up with that have been dismissed over and over again, and I've proven viability. I encourage you to do the same thing, man. Seriously, you guys might be surprised. You guys might be completely shocked. Because there's times that... My only thing now is the whole hybrid thing. You know, I want to get into it. I want to ZOS. I really do. Problem of it is, man, the scaling... you guys aren't scaling systems the system right, man. I'm just telling you that. Every time I keep trying it and that drop rate hits, man. I mean, it's cool. It's really cool to be able to come up with the different combos to implement a magical burst, follow, or a magical dot followed up with stand burst. Really cool. I mean, it's fun. It's a lot of fun, but is it practical in certain applications? And that becomes the question. So, alright guys, I'm going to let you guys go. I'm sorry I didn't get any in my queue yet. I'm going to mess around for a while. I don't want you guys to be bored watching me, collect sky shards and beat bosses and just fuck off until I get my queue. But if you have any questions or comments, post below. I hope I kind of helped you guys understand the difference between a linear progression, and I've taken you guys maybe down memory lane for a couple of the older gamers, but I hope this kind of gives you an illustration what the difference is between a linear progression, right, and an open-ended. And in Elder Scrolls, we do have a class-based system, but it's open-ended, and you're getting the best of both worlds, man. Enjoy it. Enjoy your golden egg, please. These are rare moments in these type of in your memory. So once again, thank you for watching, and as always, have a nice day.